Hello, it's Simon Zutshi here, and in this property education video, I want to share with you why the UK property market is changing in 2025 and why it's never going to be the same again. Now, on one hand, there are lots of bad things. On the other hand, there's also huge opportunity. And in this video, I'll explain how you can take the perceived bad things and actually make them an advantage for you if you're looking to invest in the UK right now. The first thing I want to talk about is UK interest rates. So if you look at the mortgage rates that are being offered at the moment, the 2-year and 5-year rates seem to be on a downward trend. And most people believe that interest rates from the Bank of England are going to come down in 2025. I genuinely agree with that statement as well, but it really does depend on inflation. My big concern about inflation is that because the government is awarding quite large pay increases in the public sector, I think that's going to cause inflation. And obviously the Bank of England use interest rates as a macroeconomic tool to control inflation. When inflation goes up, they increase interest rates to slow the economy down. So it really depends on what happens to interest rates because of the impact of inflation. But I think generally it's going to get much better for anyone who's looking to buy a property, whether you're a homeowner looking to buy another one, whether you're a first-time buyer, or of course an investor looking to grow your portfolio. Now let's talk about investors for a moment, because there are a number of things happening, changes that are happening to the UK property market that will change the investing landscape forever, and they're going to have a big impact. And most of them are related to the Labour government. The first thing to mention is this 5% stamp duty. Previously, there was an extra 3% charge for us as property investors when we buy a second or third or fifth property. And also overseas investors pay an extra 5%. In the budget back in November, the government increased the rates to 5% additional stamp duty. Now, that seems a lot of extra money for people to pay when they're buying an investment property. And I guarantee you it's going to put a lot of investors off buying properties, which is exactly what happened back in 2016 when the then Conservative government introduced an extra 3% charge. Many people sat back for a while, thought, I can't invest anymore, the numbers just don't work, until they realized what we have to do is just negotiate harder and get an extra discount off the purchase price. So people will come to that conclusion eventually. However, there will be a bit of a delay. And so for the next 6 to 9 months, I think a lot of people who want to invest in property will be put off because they'll be worried about this extra stamp duty. They'll be concerned about interest rates, and they might think, well, maybe I should wait a little bit longer to rates come down a bit more. Thus, when I buy a property, I'll make more cash flow because I can secure a mortgage at a lower rate. So that's a second reason why I think we'll see a lot of investors waiting. We have the abolition of Section 21. Now, Section 21 was the way that we can get rid of tenants. It was a no-fault eviction. We can get rid of tenants if they weren't paying the rent, if you just wanted to sell the property, whatever. They're getting rid of that. Now, we can still get rid of tenants. If they're not paying, that's okay. However, because of the Renters Reform Bill, or the Renters' Rights Bill, as the Labour government are now calling it, tenants are getting far more rights, and many landlords are getting really worried about this. They're saying, well, if I put a tenant in, I can't get rid of them as easy as I used to, and what happens if they don't pay? The reality is that if people aren't paying the rent, there are ways that we can chase them, pursue them for the money. Here's a big tip, by the way. Whenever you take a tenant in, first of all, I like to get a guarantor. That means if the tenant doesn't pay the rent, we can go after the guarantor. And ideally, that needs to be someone who's got a property, because if they don't pay, we can get a CCJ, a county court judgment against them, put on their property, and that really affects their credit rating. So having a guarantor with a property is a really good idea to insure your rent. Also, I like to get the national insurance number of the person renting the property, because if they ever do a bunk and don't pay the rent and owe me money, I can track them down, I can take them to court with that national insurance. That's a really good tip there. And finally, you can actually get rent insurance as well. So when you do all the tenant checks on someone, as long as they pass those, you can get insurance in place. So if the tenant doesn't pay, the insurance company pay the rent. So a lot of these things that people worry about are not really problems if you put the right precautions in place. But having said that, there are lots of people who are worried about the getting rid of Section 21, this 5% stamp duty, and they're going to wait. What this means is there is a huge opportunity for you right now to make the most of this buyer's market. So a buyer's market is where we have more sellers looking to sell than there are people looking to buy. And that means that there'll be more people who become motivated because there's just not enough buyers around. And so there'll be a lot of flexibility with more buyers who are either flexible on the price, which means you can buy at a discount, or they're flexible on the terms, which means you can use strategies such as vendor finance and purchase lease options where you don't need to use a lot of your own money to invest. So whilst many people are sitting back and waiting to see what happens, those of us who know what we're doing, we can get out there and find some great deals. Because ultimately, there are people who need to sell their property. And we want to find those motivated sellers, not to take advantage of them, but to find an ethical win-win solution. If you can give someone what they want, they're going to be far more likely to give you what you want. Now, there are always motivated sellers, no matter what's happening to the property prices, whether they're going up, down, or stagnating. There's always motivated people who need to sell quickly, and we can help those people by giving them speed and certainty. Property prices. What is going to happen to property prices? I believe most people expect that on average, property prices will go up in 2025. Now, when you look at an average, you have to recognize it is just that. In some areas, property prices will be coming down. In some areas, it will be stagnating, and some areas, it's already going up. But the overall percentage, I think, will be an increase in 2025 because of the fact that interest rates seem to be coming down. It's more affordable for people to buy houses, to move home, and also to buy investment properties. So that's a really big plus. And you need to also remember that we have this massive shortage of accommodation in the UK. Both the government and the Conservative Party, when they were campaigning last July, they both said we need at least 300,000 new homes every year in the UK. And the Labour Party, the now government, committed to build 1.5 million homes over their 5-year term. Now, of course, governments don't build homes. Their job is to stimulate the environment to make it attractive for us as investors and developers to build those properties. But the reality is there is no way we're going to be doing an average of 300,000 homes a year. At the moment, we're building less than 200,000. There's just not enough materials. There's not enough skilled labor. And also things take a long time to get through planning. Now, one of the political pledges that the Labour Party made before they became the government was to improve the planning system. And I think they're introducing something like 300 planning officers into the UK system. But there's way more than 300 planning departments, so that's less than one person for each department. And it's not just about a number of people on the ground, it's about people having the right experience and knowledge. So I don't see the planning issues being solved very quickly. I don't see the shortage of labour being resolved because there are just not enough people being trained how to become skilled bricklayers and plumbers and electricians. So for this reason, we will not be building enough property in the UK to meet with the demand. That means prices will continue to go up over the long term. Of course, property prices fluctuate, they come up, they come down, but the long-term trend in the UK for UK property prices is up. And I think we're going to see that happen in 2025. So if you're thinking about investing, you might think, well, should I wait until interest rates maybe come down and actually I might be able to get a better deal on my 2-year or 5-year mortgage? Or should I jump in right now because there are so many motivated sellers and there's really not that much competition? I would suggest the latter is probably what you want to do. Of course, you need to educate yourself, you need to learn how to, any idiot can go and buy a property, and many idiots do go and buy property. You need to know what you're doing. And also you need to get a network of people around you. So that's why going to our local property investor network meetings, that we have them all over the country and also a couple in the Netherlands, is a great way to meet other people who are like you, who want to invest or who are investing in property. It's a great way to build your local power team, to connect with people like mortgage brokers, letting agents, builders, get recommendations from other investors. Who are they using? And people at these network meetings are very friendly. They're very abundant. They'll share their contacts with you. And at these network meetings, you get to learn about the latest strategies and all the updates on what's happening in the property market. If you've been to a PIN meeting before, you know how good they are. I'd encourage you to come and book your next meeting. If you've never been to a property investor network meeting yet, click on the link in the description below. It's pinmeeting.co.uk. Go and find your local meeting, check the date, make sure you're available. And if you use the word YouTube as a voucher code, you can actually bypass the payment page and you don't have to pay for your very first meeting. So you can come along to your very first networking, come and try it for yourself, see what we've been missing out on, and actually come free of charge by using that voucher code YouTube. All the details are in the description below. Now, the final thing I'd say about networking is most people don't like the idea of going to have to meet a load of strangers and make small talk. The great thing about a PIN meeting is that everyone there at least has an interest in property. So you've instantly got something in common with everyone there. And we have a lot of new people come every single time. So we'll make sure we look after you, introduce you to other people, and you're going to love the experience. But come and try for yourself and see what we've been missing out on. So I believe 2025 is going to be a great time to be investing. I encourage you to get out there, get educated, and start taking action right now. And let us help you do that by attending your local property investor network meeting. So click on the link below. I do hope you found this video useful. If you do, please hit the like. If you've got any questions, put them below. I'll come and answer as many as I can. And I also recommend you subscribe to this YouTube channel and hit the bell icon so you get notified anytime a new video comes out. As ever, I encourage you to invest with knowledge, invest with skill. See you in the next video.